Be Joyful Church. Good to be with you. Picking up again in 1 Peter. And we are trying to delve into the incredibly rich material that Peter's giving us about what it means to be born again into the family of Christ. And so here, let me read to you from verses 3 and 4. I'm just going to abbreviate 3 and jump right to 4. Blessed be God who has caused us to be born again to an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled and unfading, kept in heaven for you. Now that is an amazing inheritance. But what exactly is the inheritance that is being kept, that's been held on to, that's such a treasure? Well, two things at least. One is that it's a living hope, and we've talked about that. But secondly, that inheritance is adoption into the family of Christ. So let's talk about adoption just for a moment. In those days, adoption was even more permanent than being born into a family. It could not be rescinded. So adoption was a very meaningful thing to speak of. And then this has got a special nuance in that being brought into the family of God means being brought into the place of the firstborn. And that was an incredible place of honor. And I want to show you how Peter's thoughts tie in with Paul's thoughts, where we can look for that in Galatians chapter 4. And this is starting in verse 4. God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who are under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons. And because you are sons, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. So you are no longer a slave to sin, but a son. And if a son, then an heir through God. I mean, this is really important stuff for us to understand our position in our relationship with God through Jesus. It's also important to note that the position that we have as the firstborn is not in relation to maleness. That's not the focus of this. That's where the idea comes from. But what it means is that everyone who comes into the family of Christ by faith has the rights and the blessings of a firstborn son, of the right to be an heir, and all of that means. This would have been rather shocking in those days to say, too. So it was really a progressive thing for the New Testament writers to indicate that everyone who became a part of the family of Christ had the rights of a firstborn. So let me suggest a couple of things to do as you're journaling about this. Write down your thoughts about what adoption in the family of Christ means. Like what are some of the things it means? Just get a big sheet of bullet points going. And then what are some of the highlights of those? Like what jumps to the top for you as you consider that? And then another thought would be, what are some of the responsibilities that being adopted as a firstborn into the family of Christ brings with it? And how are you responding to that? So there's some thoughts for you. Take care. And as always, see you next time. Bye-bye.